Mark Robinson's candidate. He's running for governor of North Carolina. Currently, he's lieutenant governor down there. And as more and more comes out about him, people are discovering just how many conspiracies he likes to just throw out there. When talked before previously about looking to his history, he pushes every conspiracy theory known. Here's one of the things that he is, I believe, tweeted out. Is this where it's from? From 2017, he has a history. He says, I'm seriously skeptical of everything I see and have seen on television. Everything. Those are shows, bro. From the murder of JFK to 9/11 to Las Vegas, everything. And by the way, by Las Vegas, he means that mass shooting that happened in Vegas out of that hotel room. I believe it's that one as that concert was going down. Everything, he says. Also, he said this: I don't believe the moon landing was faked, but I don't believe 9/11 was an inside job. But if I found both were true, I wouldn't be surprised. I guess that's more of it's a low-level conspiracy theory. Like, I don't believe the conspiracy, but if someone proved that it was a problem, then I would believe it. I'm glad you're willing to accept that. Maybe you should believe that Donald Trump committed all these crimes that are obviously in front of us. Will you believe that? Probably not. More though, because Robinson said that news coverage of police shootings is also part of this whole conspiracy theory. Again, Mark Robinson is a black guy. And so this is standard for a black person that's a Republican. You have to somehow find a way to stand up for things that make absolutely no sense, especially when it comes to police coming after folks in your community. He says this: I refuse to fall into the media trap and allow myself to lose sight of what is really going on with these, quote, police-involved shootings. He says this is a purposeful movement intended to weaken and ultimately destroy policing as we know it in America. And if you think that's a good thing, think again. This weak European-style policing will not work in this country. Crime rates will skyrocket and lead to calls for stronger, more government-controlled policing. And you can guess what that will lead to. I implore all of my conservative friends, do not help promote the anti-police sentiments that are being pushed by the media. See through their lies and look at the big picture of their true intent, which is to push us or the US towards their new world order. I want to stop there, Ida, because I feel like you probably have some thoughts about that. But really fast, my first thought here is he's talking about how policing, we need to stop talking about how it needs to be changed, rethought. Maybe training should be different, and maybe the approach of just going after certain folks as a policy should be something they don't do. Because then if we keep going after these cops, it's going to turn into this whole strong government-controlled policing. Well, for many folks in this country, they already see that unfettered policing that happens because of who they are, but who cares about them? First, your thoughts?
You know, I just think every time I see somebody who hates themselves, I always pity them, because I feel like, you know, if you really care about the police, then you would care for a reform. You would say, let's lessen the load. Let's allocate some funds to mental health so that they don't have to go out. Let's make sure they're getting enough money. Let's make sure they're not being overworked. Because we all know police officers are blue collar workers and they are the pawns in the game. And yeah, there are some cops that have, you know, committed some of the most egregious acts that we've seen. But the reality of it is that we do not have a proper system in this country to really train and support police officers, like mental health training, the things that they need, because they got to go out every day and face some of the hardest parts of society. But to sit here and say that these things are lies, first of all, if anybody proved that somebody didn't go to the moon and there was actual proof, we would, all of us who are sensible would believe it. So you're saying that if somebody proved this conspiracy, if somebody proved to me that lions could actually, you know, play the violin, and I saw a lion play the violin and somebody proved it, I would believe it. Until then, it's just dumb to say stuff like that. If somebody proved it, leaving that gap wide open, because you are preying on people who don't have better sense. And you know that if you say the things that they want to believe and you toe the line, at least you got them following you where you're going. And it's usually to the cliff where they jump off and then you go back where you started from, because that's what Donald Trump did on January 6th. So when I just see people saying stuff like this, I feel like, you know, the stuff that you're talking about when you're talking about police reform, It won't work here, but it'll work in Europe. Why? Europeans are better than us. Europeans are softer than us. Europeans are more educated, more sophisticated. Well, some of them have access to healthcare, so maybe they are not as stressed out and losing their minds like we are. But what is that supposed to mean? It won't work here. The disrespect and the dehumanization of American people is constantly being done by the people who claim to love them the most. And that is why it is so insulting when people like this, they are just playing with the intelligence, undermining the intelligence of the people who support them when they say stuff like this. A lot of white people get mistreated and abused by the police. It ain't as salacious. It isn't as the media does play, mainstream media does play a role in contributing to this hate that is being stewed in America with race and culture and all of that stuff. But a lot of people who are mentally ill, 12-year-old white boys have been murdered by the police who were called there to help them with a mental health crisis. You know, Ben Crump is a friend of mine and he defends a lot of people, and they're not all black, who have been abused and mistreated by police officers. And it just, the fact that we cannot speak in absolutes. When you say all the police shootings are fake, is like us saying all cops are bad. You can't have it both ways. Which one is it? Are we gonna be intelligent enough to say we got a problem in this country? And anybody who works under the line that is making less money than they have to make, from the hospitals to the fire department to the police department, who have to show up on a daily basis, who are not being properly trained or properly supported, we're gonna have problems with them. You know why? Because they're not getting what they need and they can't give us what we need.
It's the thought. It's the approach that's gone, and then I've seen some of the defenders whenever there are all those videos coming out of black folks being assaulted, murdered by cops, and they go, "Oh, what happens to white people too?" So join the thought process of fixing this whole thing. Why is that a defense of the police? You know, they murder us too. Well, do something about it. Aren't you upset about that? Why is that an acceptable thing to see? And also, when everything was going on with pushback on cops more, because we're seeing videos of people being assaulted more and more. I think it was a Twitter thread type of thing or hashtag that was going around where people were giving their police encounters. So this is all made up. The new videos that we're now seeing are now something new. When the Rodney King video came out, folks that experienced that stuff weren't going, "Oh my God, this happens." No, they said, "Yeah, that's right. Now there's a video in 1992 that shows us what we've always seen. Now that it's 2023, it's everywhere and it's easier to see." So it's not like it happens, suddenly it's something new and they're creating these videos. It's now we can film it immediately. So we've seen our folks getting murdered on camera all the time. It's disgusting. Anyway, it goes, to build this type of coalition of people to just follow them off that cliff, I think, as you point out, is maybe the thought process here for this lieutenant governor looking to be governor. There's more though. In October of 2018, on a day when authorities intercepted pipe bombs that were intended for President Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and CNN, this is what Robinson said about it as well. This entire, quote, bombing story is faker than a $20 Rolex sold on a New York City sidewalk. Okay,
how does he know that?
Exactly. Where's the next step? I have all kinds of thoughts that I have. It's like, man, that's a fake video. That's a fake this. But I don't just say it. You at least want to find out for your own sake. Don't you want to know what you're saying that you believe is for real? It makes me think maybe he doesn't really believe that. But there's more though. It's not all just politics. It's not all just things with moon landings and that. This is what apparently he had tweeted out at one point. He said, seriously, he's talking about Beyonce. Seriously, her songs sound like they say stuff like Satan laughs at you, rot in hell if you play them backwards. Super weird and a bunch of laughy faces. Okay. Now he's just joking. This is just for the sake, and by the sign said Beyonce's songs sound like satanic chants. Changed my mind. It's okay. Everybody doesn't have to like Beyonce. I don't actually listen to tons of Beyonce. I like her music, but okay, what does that have to do with anything else? Fine, you think it's satanic. But if you're thinking this is some fringe candidate, you'd be wrong. Let's check out this graphic number 6, because Robinson is leading in the polling here at 41.5%, and the Democrat is just behind him, Josh Stein, at 40.8. Another 17% aren't really sure about where they'll be going for this 2024 general election for the governor of North Carolina. But I mean, when asked about it, he didn't have much comments then, because as we saw, some of these tweets and comments were from years and years ago. Maybe he's changed his mind on some of this stuff. Maybe he sees the craziness involved, but he appears to be hopefully moving on, and maybe he's got some policy and agenda that may help the American people or the people of North Carolina if he actually gets that spot.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.